Tales of the Valiant looks way too much like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, and player characters are way too powerful and the game will not be fun because of it. Those are the top 2 comments that I get every time I open my mouth or write about Tales of the Valiant. But I'm here to say that a lot of people are not seeing the whole picture, and Kobold Press are actually a bunch of pretty insanely good game designers who know exactly what they're doing. Hi there fellow roleplayers and game masters, my name is Mr. Tarask and this is still your go-to YouTube channel for anything Tales of the Valiant. And today I wanted to do a video that is a little bit different because I just want to sit down and rant about Tales of the Valiant for a little bit. No, I want to actually rant about the comments that I keep getting on my videos, on my socials, whenever I type something up on my keyboard about Tales of the Valiant. People are repeating the same comments all the time, which kind of bums me out. Because I feel like a lot of these comments, a lot of these opinions, although rightfully your opinion, if that is your opinion, are not educated enough, especially on my channel, because I've been talking about these issues a lot on my channel, but people just keep repeating the same comments. So the first one being, of course, that Tales of the Valiant looks way too much like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, which, depending where you're coming from, I can kind of understand. Depending what your preferences are in terms of tabletop RPGs, if you want to go more rules light and you want fast combat and more role-playing and all that stuff, I kind of see where you want to get more away from 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons, which is absolutely fine. But the other comment is the one I want to talk about first, is about the player characters being way too powerful. The power spike that had... which doesn't make sense, and I'm going to tell you why that is my opinion. I've been saying this ever since I've been covering Kobold Press material. Kobold Press is an incredibly big company in the tabletop RPG scene, at least. They have so many products that they are kind of, even their 5th edition stuff, not talking about Tales of the Valiant, even their 5th edition stuff are a game in itself, meaning they have their own campaign setting, they have their own races, they have their own classes, their own subclasses, their own spells, they have their own monsters, they have their own everything. You don't even need one book from Wizards of the Coast if you want to play 5th edition Kobold Press stuff. But Kobold Press characters have always been incredibly powerful, meaning that they get like extras, they get features that is just unbalanced towards 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. But to my opinion, Kobold Press material does not need to be balanced against 5th edition Dungeons & Dragons. Kobold Press material needs to be balanced against itself, which it is. Player characters from Kobold Press are incredibly powerful, but a challenge rated 7 monster from Kobold Press is basically a challenge rated 9 or 10 monster from Wizards of the Coast, from the Monster Manual from 2014. If you are going to run a bunch of people who have been creating Kobold Press characters, you're going to run them through an adventure by Wizards of the Coast or with monsters from Volo's Guide to Monsters or whatever, they're going to beat the living crap out of those monsters like that. But that is not that's not like the plan of Kobold Press. The plan of Kobold Press is that you pit those characters against Kobold Press's monsters, adventures, settings, traps, hazards, diseases, villains, all of that stuff. They have all of that stuff. This is like a very, very small part of my Kobold Press material that I actually have. They have everything, and the monsters for Kobold Press, the traps, the hazards, the diseases, are also way more powerful, which means that you get a crunchier game than 5th edition, admittedly, but you get I've always been saying it is D&D on steroids, and that is what Tales of the Valiant is. People are seeing a class for Tales of the Valiant, and they're saying, oh my god, it is becoming way too powerful. The cleric, like for example, at level 4, you get an ability score improvement for 5th edition. With Tales of the Valiant, you also get that, but you can opt to take a lower ability score improvement and a feat, which is incredibly powerful because you can get a +1 on your wisdom or whatever, and you can take a feat, which it's incredibly powerful to do it that way. But it is meant to be played against Tales of the Valiant monsters. And as we've seen, Tales of the Valiant monsters are those are bad monsters. Like, they're going to eat you and devour you and kill you and whatever. And Kobold Press, the designers at Kobold Press, incredibly talented people. You know who I'm talking to. I love all of you guys who are working with Kobold Press. They actually introduce mechanics to make sure that the strong player characters get to fight stronger monsters. For example, there's Doom Points, which they redesigned like once or twice already to, you can add Doom Points to a creature, meaning that that creature becomes way more powerful, which means in return that the game kind of balances each other out. Will you have somewhat longer combat? Yes, probably. Will you have somewhat more crunchier games with some more math going on and all that stuff? Yes, probably you will. But some people actually love that type of stuff. I, for example, have two D&D groups. One D&D group I now play Cypher with because they're just a bunch of people who just want to sit down, eat Cheetos, drink fucking coffee, and just have a good time and laugh their ass off. And I have another group, which I haven't played with in a while, who are a bunch of real gamers, right? And they really like having this math going on, having to count and doing like that tactical crunchy game, which Tales of the Valiant for me personally is going to probably end up being. Now, there's the Doom Points, and they say that the game is going to be backwards compatible with 5th edition, right? And a lot of people want backwards compatibility with 5th edition, but they're also complaining that the game looks too much like Dungeons & Dragons 5th edition, which to my opinion does not make any sense at all. It just doesn't, does not compute with me. The game looks a lot like 5th edition. Now, we have to separate the system from the game. For me personally, 5th edition is a system, Dungeons & Dragons is a game. Cypher is a system, Numenera is the game. So 5th edition is the system, Kobold Press material is the game, right? But now Tales of the Valiant is its own game in a sense that it has its own monsters, its own stuff going on, and they implemented tools very easy to grasp, easy to use, like barely an inconvenience. So you can actually take monsters from the original monster book, the Bestiary by Wizards Goes, the monster manual, and add like stuff like Doom Points in there to make that creature more Tales of the Valiant-y. Which means that you can actually use the freaking, bullet from the monster manual and add some Doom Points to it, and becomes this bullet on steroids, which is basically stronger and more dangerous for Tales of the Valiant characters. So we're getting a new RPG, which they're calling it kind of a new RPG, which it doesn't. I can see where people are like, it isn't a new RPG because they're just 5th edition, they're just changing some stuff around. But there's a lot of RPGs out there that call their RPG their own RPG, and they use 5th edition as a system. So it's absolutely, for me, Tales of the Valiant feels more like really, really well thought out third-party content for 5th edition. So that is just a quick opinion of mine that I wanted to quickly get out there, because some of the comments, I think people are seeing the player characters and they're seeing, oh, you get a feat at level 4 and an ability score improvement, oh, you get more spells, or you get more hit points, or you get more abilities, or you get more channel divinities, or you get more of this, and you get luck points are in there, and all of that stuff is in there, and player characters are going to be so powerful, and turns will take forever. Yes, they will. Player characters will be incredibly powerful. Turns will probably take longer than in 5th edition due to luck points, due to Doom Points. But it's balanced out. It is exactly what they were going for. In the playtest material, the early playtest material, Black Flag stuff, they literally said it. The first paragraph or the second paragraph were like, we know these player characters are going to be stronger. It is on purpose. If you want to play a 5th edition cleric together with a Tales of the Valiant cleric, you can, but the Tales of the Valiant cleric is going to be slightly more powerful, so you're probably going to need to do some stuff in order to make that other cleric also more powerful. As a game master, you have tools enough, but the game designers at Kobold Press are actually addressing the issues that you're talking about in the comments. But the people who complain about player characters being too powerful are often, I feel, not educated enough. Like, they don't realize there are systems implemented to bring player characters up, but also bring the challenges for those player characters up, which just brings the game from here to here, which is great for people who actually like that stuff. Like I said, I have 2 groups. For one group, I will not introduce Tales of the Valiant. I will not even talk about it probably with that group, because it's just not for that group of people, which is great, which is awesome, which is that's good. But for another group, I will say like, hey, people, we're not playing D&D, we're not playing vanilla D&D anymore. If we want to play D&D, here's Tales of the Valiant. Make characters from that, because we're playing that RPG. Until next video, bye-bye.